What's going on? This is Dumbins Academy, and I'm your host, Mr. Justin. All right, so that was just a little video intro that I'm working on, and still in the works. Just trying out a few different things and seeing what I like. There's a lot of options out there, so bear with me. But it's been fun, like checking out like different video processes, editing, stylizing. And today it's like, because of AI, that shit is just so freaking easy. Like basically just type in whatever you want shown and it will make a video for you. So gone are the days of having to hire someone off of Fiverr or something like that to make a video for you and add audio and all that bullshit. Excuse me. Just got out of the gym today and love that feeling. Love feeling swole as fuck. Love that shit. Like blood is like just filling your muscles and you can't even put your arms down at your sides. I love that fucking shit. If you're not lifting, you should get lifting. It's a lot of fun. And I took a break for a while, about a year, and I had a little back injury. And I had a little back injury that took me out for about 6 months, and then I lost the edge. I lost the drive and the will to get to the gym. And so I just started about 2 weeks ago, and I forgot how much I loved it. Like, it is just such a great feeling. And, just like the seams on your shirt are all fucking stretched out and shit. I love that. And of course, my girl's like, oh, great, now you can throw me around more. I'm like... All right. But yeah, so welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys who are stopping through. Kason, I see you. Chris in the chat. Duca Lux, good to see you, buddy. And today we're gonna talk a little bit about this Madonna whore thing, and I've touched on it before. And I think that it's the sort of thing that needs to be just drilled, because it's a sort of mentality that I don't even know where the fuck it comes from. So I pulled up an article from some psychology website, and maybe that will glean some information about it. But I don't understand where guys get this thing from, where there's good girls and there's bad girls. And perhaps that has something to do with having a lack of experience and not being around enough women and seeing the various aspects of their personalities to understand that there is no real like good girl, bad girl. Like there's like good girls can be total whores and total whores can be good girls. And there's so many factors involved that bring out these types of their personality. And, I remember it was like in my younger years, college sort of thing, and I got with this chick, and people had known who she was, and they're like, oh man, like she's total whore. And but I took like a different angle. Maybe it's just the type of person I am, I don't know. And I got to know her in a different way. Of course we did sexual stuff, but I didn't see the whore thing. I didn't understand what guys were getting at. And it dawned on me that if a person doesn't have a lot of experience with a certain woman or a certain type of woman, then they get it and they think it's this like crazy anomaly. And these things are just regular. They're really just regular. That's all it is. It's nothing really special. What's up, K-Zaggin in the chat? Good to see you, man. Yeah, they're simply just expressing their sexuality in different ways. Yeah, for sure. I wanted to just kind of grab a psychology reference so we can kind of get a better idea of the root of it. And basically, the Madonna whore complex. It's a mental complex often perpetuated by heterosexual cisgender males that places women into two categories, right? The Madonna and the whore. The Madonna being pure, virtuous, and nurturing, and a whore who is a woman who's deemed as overly sexual, manipulating, and promiscuous. And these days, like promiscuous seems to be like the word of the month, because I'm hearing it everywhere. Promiscuous women, this and that. And it's weird to, like, I'm just trying to get into the headspace of some of these guys where they'll see a type of woman and her behavior and think, okay, she's a promiscuous woman, or I bet she's a promiscuous woman, because these guys who are making these judgments, they're not actually with these women. They're like what Steve calls bird watching. They're up in the trees with their binoculars looking at what's going on. And they're like, I see one. I see a speckled feather whore right over there. So they're not really engaging with any of these women. They're just kind of making assessments based on visual characteristics. And the thing is that when in the right environment, around the right kind of man, and not to say that there's like a wrong kind of man, but just around a certain type of person, different like aspects of the personality can come out. Like my girl and I, we talk about like our sexual past like all the time. Like I love hearing her fucked up wild stories, and she likes hearing mine. And she's told me of like some of the things she's done with previous lovers. And it's like, just by looking at her, you'd never guess. You would never guess in a million years that she's done some of the things that she's done. Nothing like dangerous or anything like that, but just, I don't know. You guys got to be careful with just how you're perceiving things. Okay. So it goes on here to say, about the history a little bit. So it says Freud originally coined the term to describe men in heterosexual relationships who no longer viewed their partners for whom they had romantic feelings as sexually attractive. It was Freud's theory that men with Madonna whore complex could not differentiate between their love for their mother and their love for a romantic partner. And men suffering from Madonna whore complex often can't view women as sexuality as loving and sexual. So they can't put these two things together, these two concepts of being loving and nurturing and a sexual deviant and a whore at the same time. And it's really just something to work on and analyze within yourself. So it goes on to say, to cope with these feelings of anxiety, because that's what it'll produce, they compartmentalize their romantic love for women they deem to have the qualifications to be a wife and a mother, but have little to no sexual arousal, and devalue women they consider promiscuous, but whom they sexually desire. So they'll say, like, those women are for the streets, but I'll still fuck them, but I won't cuff them up. And those women over there, I'll cuff them up, but I'm not going to smack them around, put vibrators in their ass and spit in their mouth. So it's like they've got this really hard line separating these two types of women when there's really no types at all. Okay, so let's see here. So in other words, degrading her in the process. So in other words, men with MWC can only become fully sexually aroused when reducing their partner to a sexualized object, degrading her in the process because the good girl or the Madonna can't be fully sexually desired. And so that's kind of where like I come in. So that's kind of where I come in, where I love the idea of shifting these mindsets within a dynamic, within a relationship, and getting to understand that, yes, if a woman trusts you and you can create this emotional environment of calm and non-judgment, you'll find that a lot of women really enjoy various aspects of feeling degraded. And if you're lucky enough or skilled enough to hear some of their fantasies, some of them are full of degradation. Now, that doesn't mean that they want to actually do these things. Like, they'll fantasize about, being, tied down in like a bukkake circle and just like covered with jizz by a bunch of guys. Like, that's a fantasy of having that feeling of degradation. It'll get them, very aroused. It'll get them off while they're masturbating. Now, that doesn't mean they actually want the full fantasy. So, but then if they reveal that, then that can lead into another conversation about how, maybe you could reenact something that's like a little bit similar, and you get into a little bit of bondage, and you can create a whole scene, even with dialogue and lighting, and you can create this whole little act All right, that's what scenes are. It's just creating this act that both can sort of participate in and create this other personas that you can sink into and enjoy yourselves in. But the thing is that I think just guys don't really fully can embrace the idea that that nice girl over there, she has these thoughts. Maybe not that specific one of the Bukkake circle, but she has her own. And it's the judgment of guys and the fear of guys like that they think men have, that a lot of men actually do have, that they don't reveal this aspect of themselves. They won't open it up about themselves and reveal that they are a highly sexually charged being. Like, I don't think, I don't even understand it because I'm just a guy, but I've seen my own orgasms and I've seen the orgasms of women, and it seems like their orgasms are like 100 times more powerful. Like, I don't lose consciousness. I've never had an orgasm so strong that I've passed out. All right. Like I've been punched in the head. That's never happened. I've seen women lose consciousness from an orgasm. I've seen them like full body quaking where they can't control their body and like drools coming out of their mouth and their eyes rolling in their head. That's never happened to me. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you have orgasms that powerful, but I haven't. So imagine that your orgasm is 100 times more powerful than the one that you've gotten or the one that you've had. That's the world that they're in. Their pleasure can take them to different states of consciousness, different states of being. They lose sense of time, space, identity, placement, reality, even like out-of-body experience type shit. So you're dealing with somebody who has that ability within themselves, and you're on the outside, like judging it, not understanding and judging on top of it. So, I say that to help guys kind of like get over that power. Okay, just getting over the intimidation factor, because I think that might be part of it. Put your comments in there. What your thoughts on that. But I feel like there's like there's some kind of intimidation when it comes to the pleasure of women. And I think the more experiences you have, the more you communicate with women about their pleasure, about what they like and how they like to get there and what's in their head, and slowly kind of like bring out their fantasies and their relaxation and their calmness around you, you'll know that it's nothing to really be afraid of. It's nothing to be intimidated by. And I really do think that the guys are intimidated by that power, because ours is just so simple. Like, I can't remember where I heard it, that like a guy's orgasm is like a guitar solo in a rock song, right? It's just like fast, strong. It's like, it's big, but it's short-lived. And a woman's orgasm is like a symphony orchestra, where it like builds and there's like crescendos and rises and falls, and like it has like a whole trajectory. And it's like when you understand more of where that's coming from and why it exists, and you can bring yourself in there with little judgment, or no judgment, even better, then you can kind of be that conductor. You can more easily be that conductor of that pleasure, of her mind, of her emotions, of where she's going. All right. But if you're stuck in this idea that like, no, she can't do that, only whores can do that, but you've got it all fucked up. This is a woman thing, not a good girl, bad girl thing. Like, good girls can be bad girls can be good. It doesn't matter. Now, of course, there's other like little factors involved that can change this sort of thing, like upbringing and all that shit. So this goes on to say, the Virgin Mary is depicted as nurturing, motherly, and modest. Therefore, she is surrounded by earthly and heavenly beauty. Underneath the Madonna is Eve, who is primarily naked, surrounded by darkness. using her naked body as a form of temptation, sexuality, and therefore sinful. So this was it's based on a painting by Caramino, like the old Renaissance painting, and has opposing depictions of women as being either good or bad. You can't be one and the same, which is ideologically the Madonna whore complex. So, and what this does is it goes into how this is connected to the manipulations of women. It turns into like either low key or high key misogyny, and because that creates this this anxiety within dudes where they get kind of angry. And I've seen it, and I think you guys have seen it too. You look in comments of certain things, like dudes are fucking angry. They're angry at women, and it's like they're angry at whores for being whores, but they're also angry at whores because they can't get them. And I don't know, maybe they're angry at good girls because there's not enough of them or some shit, but there's just like a lot of anger towards women. And that all just comes back to, it always comes back to this, but how you are relating to yourself. That's all of this shit. All these things, like what you see, like when you're looking out, you look at women and you're making judgment calls and breaking them into groups and all that shit. All that is just an extension of yourself. It's just an extension of how you see yourself and how you relate with yourself. Okay, so part of this has to do with your own ego and your own shadow integration. Maybe I could make a video about that. That's another one of like Freud's thing, and maybe not Freud, maybe a successor, but shadow integration. It's really important. And so a lot of guys, I can imagine that if you are rejecting your own shadow, you're rejecting the darker side of yourself, then of course you're going to shun what you see as dark. Okay, so if you're looking at whores and seeing them as dark or sinful or bad, okay, anything within yourself that is somewhat similar, you're going to repress. And by repressing that causes all kinds of anxiety. Okay, that's going to cause problems in how you behave. Maybe not directly, but it's going to transform into something. Okay, so if you imagine that somebody has like some kind of crazy addiction and they haven't addressed that addiction, nor do they feed the addiction directly, that's going to turn into other behaviors. And typically it's not going to be happy. It's not going to be healthy. All right. Yeah, Lux, thanks for putting that in here. You said, from what I heard, is around 50 to 70% of women have BDSM fantasies. Yeah, like, I don't know if that's the exact numbers, but I've not come across a woman who only likes soft, nice, loving, nurturing sex. Okay, now I would say like a lot of women do, but that's not all they like. In fact, women like variety. They fucking love variety. So if you're just doing like the hardcore like BDSM thing, that gets boring. That gets old. That turns into something that's predictable. Okay? So you actually have to be a master craftsman. If you want to be a good lover, okay, you actually have to have a lot of tools. You got to be like fucking Batman and enjoy being Batman. Okay, like if it's a slog for you, then I don't know, maybe being a good lover isn't your thing. But to be a good lover, you have to have a lot of variety, a lot of imagination, and it doesn't always have to be, nice stuff or sensual stuff. It can be nice, sensual, sexy, erotic, dangerous. It could be fun. It could be silly. There's so many different ways. And I encourage you to express them. I encourage you to nurture them and create scenarios. Create scenarios in your head that you can kind of map out and then put into practice when you're with your woman and actually do these things. And like I keep a notebook of different ideas of mine. and like I map it out and kind of create like what I would think would be the proper dialogue. Sometimes she doesn't say exactly what I think she would say, but it's close. And then I can sort of map out and reenact things later on. So, oh, hey, what's up, Uncle Guns? Good to see you, man. He said that angry because they want something easy, but are skittish because they know they may not be able to deliver, that she will gauge, rate, measure him against the others. Yeah, you know, and it's going to happen. I mean, it's just a human thing. Like, we all do that, right? If you're like, I like Mexican food. I like burritos. I fucking love burritos. In fact, I'm going to get a burrito after this. And so I've had burritos. I've had a lot of different burritos from different places. So if I have one, I'm going to know what's good and what's bad. Okay. I like cocktails. Like I'm a drinker. I have like, I don't know, maybe a couple cocktails a week. And I go to bars and try their certain cocktails. My favorite is Negroni. I love Negronis. It's my favorite cocktail. So when I go to different bars, I can judge their skill in which how they make a Negroni, and you know what sort of gin they use, and and I just let them to it and just see what they do. And so I have that experience. So anytime I have a Negroni, I'm automatically judging it based on previous experiences, based on a previous palate that I've developed. Okay, same with wine. So that's also going to happen for sex. Like if you've had a lot of blowjobs, you know what's a good blowjob and what isn't. All right. And the same thing goes with women. If she's had a lot of dick, if she's had a lot of experiences, she's going to know whether what you're doing is fun or not. And that's just the way it is. Okay. And you can chalk it up as if it's not going well, she's not a repeat customer. Always get into a mindset of learning. You know, especially if you have the mindset and a desire to be a good lover. Okay, if you want to be good at sex, this is something that you have to treat it like study. Okay, and I've mentioned this before, like the story about when I was teaching illustration. Okay, and I would show it was all online, and I would show my students slideshows of, you know, amazing paintings, stuff like from the Renaissance and, postmodernism and all this stuff, just mind-blowing paintings that are gorgeous, done with actual paint, and they're massive, okay? And they would look at them, and their first initial reaction is awe and just, wow, look at how beautiful that is, okay? Right after that, their immediate reaction was, I need to just put my brushes down now. They would lose their drive. They would lose it, and because they saw something that was so fucking good, they were like, how could I ever achieve something like that? I should just stop now. And I know the feeling. Like, I remember like being young and thinking that way, and I get it, okay? But I would have to encourage them to take that hat off and put on the engineer's hat. Okay, look at things like the way an engineer would. And instead of getting emotional into it and saying, oh my gosh, that's so crazy, or oh, I can't ever do that, those emotions don't matter. All right, what matters is looking at it with an engineer's mind and saying, how did they do this? How did they create an image that looked so good that it elicited an emotional response in me? Like, think about that. Just a picture makes you feel. That's pretty powerful, okay? So you think to yourself, think to yourself, guys, how did they do that? Look at this technically, break it down. Look at the composition, look at the colors, look at the lighting, look at the shadows, look at the speculars, look at everything that's going on in the painting, and try to deconstruct as to why these elements, when put together, created a response. And so when you are in the same way, when you're looking to become a better lover, you have to look at it in the same way. You have to have that engineer's hat on and not get emotional. So if she doesn't like what you're doing, don't let that get in you and be like, oh man, I suck. I should just fucking give up fucking now, or whatever. Or at worst, blame her. You're like, oh, fuck her. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing anyways. Like, that's not productive. It's not productive at all. What you need to do is put on that engineer's hat so you can start analyzing and breaking things down and saying how, why, okay? and not from in a place of emotion. That's how you become better and trying to figure these things out. Yeah, Mathis. Yeah, it's real, man. Like when you're working hard at something, and it could be anything. It could be boxing, it could be a sport, and you look and you're like, fuck, why am I even doing this? Like they've already mastered what I'm trying to do. So it's a real thing. I get it. Okay, when you feel just reduced after a quote unquote failure, or before you even try. But if you want to get good, you can't put your emotions into it. You have to look at this from a technical aspect. Later, you can put in emotions, okay? Because that's one of the 4 pillars, okay? The 4 pillars being dominance, variety, immersion, and emotion, okay? So those are like the 4 major pillars, and each of those pillars breaks down into its splinters in each one. And there's specifics to each one, and it just keeps splintering. So emotion is being one of those, and you can involve your own emotions if you want. Okay, if you're with a woman that you love and she loves you, and you're like really creating a deeper connection, or it means that you can bring out her emotions. Okay. You can start fostering emotional reactions through sex, through the type of scene, the type of lovemaking you're doing, and this can bring out a very, very powerful response in her. And a lot of times it can be release. Okay, I don't know if you guys experience crygasms. Okay, I've not directly experienced it, but I've seen them. I've brought them out in women, where the orgasm is so powerful on an emotional level that it becomes like a therapeutic release, and they start crying. And it's not out of pain or anything like that. It's purely emotional. And I remember early on, like the first time this ever happened to me, I got a little freaked out. So I checked with her, like after she calmed down, like what was going on. And it wasn't anything that I'd done. Okay, so that was like, I was at ease from that, but I still didn't get it. And I tried to understand, and she couldn't even explain it. It was just a huge release. And it wasn't sadness, it wasn't anger, it wasn't pain. It was just a mixture of just emotion. And it turns out that it happened to be tears. So, these are the sort of things that you can do, within those 4 pillars. So it's only at first when you are, when you're learning the ropes, that you should separate your emotions from these things. So it's a clearer path to learning. Then after you've become more comfortable and you know how to express yourself better and you know how to lead situations better, only then you can bring emotions into it again. All right. And, more so for her experience, not really for yours, because you still have to be the conductor. You still have to be the, like I said before, the conductor of the symphony. He can't really immerse himself into the performance, because then he'll lose track. Being able to detach from emotions is something as well. Yeah, Dukalux, that's what I mean. It's just being able to have that emotional control. So if you guys have any questions about this Madonna horror thing or anything else, just drop them in the chat. I'll see them. Just see if there's like anything that I missed here. Yeah. K Zaga, that is true. Promiscuity, he said, promiscuity is subjective, but guys use the word objectively. Yeah, there's really no set measurable thing for promiscuity. And the thing is that, I was talking to a group of guys, and it was on Clubhouse. I like going to Clubhouse. I mention this a lot just because you get a snapshot of it's like a little petri dish of average guys who think average. And it's funny because the more you the more your brain gets saturated with game, and trust me, it never stops. It never, ever stops. Just your sponge gets bigger and then it absorbs more. And then the sponge gets bigger and then you absorb more. So this just goes on forever. But anyways, the more you're in the game and you step back into their world, okay? You walk on their side of the street and you start hearing the way they talk and you're like, my God, they don't even realize how they're thinking. They don't even realize what they're saying. And you know, I know some people, they get frustrated, they get angry with them or whatever, but I can't help but feel bad. Like a little bit of compassion goes, because it's like they don't even know what they're doing. They don't know what they don't know. And it's causing them a lot of problems, like a shit ton of problems in their lives. Yeah, Kason, yeah, try it out. It's an interesting place. It's a really interesting place, that Clubhouse, because they just go on and on, like just talking shit. And it's like talking shit about women. And as far as like, you know, their mindset, it's very broad. Okay, so a lot of guys who don't have experience with women, they have a certain feeling, and a lot of it is anxiety, and they can't, like, they need something to feel grounded about. They need to feel grounded. So what helps them feel grounded in their lostness is they go to wide talking points. They talk in generalities. Women will, okay? They go to statistics, because this helps them feel like there's something substantial that they can say that makes them feel grounded about them not knowing what the fuck is going on. And so they'll look at a statistic like, a woman who's promiscuous, if they've had more than 3 partners, that they're, 56% more likely to get divorced. And it's like, that makes them feel more comfortable, like having those numbers there, like that's something concrete, because their own lives don't express any of that. It doesn't reflect any of that, rather, because they don't have any data in their own lives to go off of. Now, that's the problem they really should be focusing on, instead of trying to figure out women from a distance, up in the trees, looking at the whole species and trying to come up with some sort of philosophy or some sort of hypothesis about women. And then I said to them, okay, let's say your hypothesis is correct. Some, people come in and they do a lot of double-blind studies and peer review this and that, and boom, your hypothesis is now a theory. Okay, because a theory is actually the highest level of competence in science when it comes to concepts. Like the theory of relativity, like it's super strong. So let's say your hypothesis becomes a theory. Now what? Now what? Great, you're the smartest guy in the room. You're still alone. You're still frustrated. You're still annoyed with women. You still have anxiety. You figured them out, but you're still, sitting by yourself, complaining, having that internal frustration, anxiety, hatred, sometimes anger, while you fiddle around with your PlayStation. So having these, I say that to illustrate that these sort of thought processes, these sort of talking points about women in general, they're a waste of time. They're a waste of mental energy. They're a waste of vocal energy. They're a waste completely. Like, there is zero gain from any of these, except in bonding with other men who can agree with you, or that disagree with you and you get into a bickering back and forth. It produces no fruit. It doesn't actually get you closer to what you want. And what guys really want, generally speaking, is a woman in their lives. It's really that simple. If you ask most of these guys, 90% of them probably just want one woman in their lives. So sitting back, criticizing, hypothesizing, trying to figure them out, what's that doing? How is that getting you closer to your goal? How is that getting closer to what you want? It isn't. So then it's trying to figure out what it actually is. Because I told these guys, I said, listen, the only time you're going to have a criticism, because they were talking about, what were they talking about? Oh, hair. Yep. Eventually these conversations always devolve into women's hair and what they're doing with hair, whether they've got, whether they're using glue or weave or wigs or whatever. Those conversations always go into hair. I don't know why, but, and they've got all these ideas about it. And I said, listen, if there's a woman in front of you who's campaigning to be on your program, she's showing interest in wanting to be on your program, that is the only woman to which you can say, I don't like wigs, don't wear wigs if you want to be with me. Or whatever the thing is, whether it's a physical trait, behavioral trait, whatever the trait may be, it only matters to the one woman who's standing in front of you, who your voice can actually have some kind of influence over. If there is no woman there, then you're wasting your breath. It's like you're shouting into a tornado. It does nothing. Okay? So just cut that shit out. And if there's no women in front of you, then figure that out. Okay? There's a lot of people out there that can help you sort that thing out, I used to do the whole dating thing. There's better people suited for that. You can talk to, Lucario. He's still in that world. But I got out of that sort of thing. But once you're there, let's have a conversation. Because I particularly like the dynamics of when people get together, that the meat that's there. But of course, you have to get out and talk to women in order to make this sort of thing happen. Right? You can't just sit back. Watching me is not gonna get you gamed up. It's not going to produce fruit. Like watching any YouTube channel, I don't care how much wisdom is in that YouTuber. It's not going to do you any good unless you do something with it. All right, you have to actually get out there. I could read so many books about lifting, but it's not going to make me stronger. And so if you're going to do anything new for 2024, just make a goal of talking to women. Make a goal of talking to more women each day or each week or whatever. You know what I mean? And that will start you on the process of making mistakes and learning from them and growing and doing experiments. Not putting so much weight on what's happening and what you get out of it, except the learning part. So you can blow shit up if you want. I've talked about my experiences when I've purposely blown shit up, where I decided to act a certain way just to prove it to myself that women don't like a certain thing. And lo and behold, it was true. So I was like, okay, that experiment worked out and showed me truth. It was no longer just a hypothesis. It was a real thing. So that turned into a fact, at least from my experience. So you gotta, get out there and do something. Oh, Kason, I got out of being a dating coach. Like talking about and coaching guys on how to be presentable, how to talk to women, how to engage with them such that it will bring about dates and interaction and sex and all that stuff. For the most part now, I focus mainly on people who are in relationships, who are in marriages, who want to bring out a little bit more excitement, more fun, more kink, and bring more of a power dynamic into the relationship. Because a lot of times things either start off with an egalitarian setup or they devolve into an egalitarian setup. And what I've experienced from talking to a lot of married couples and situations that I've been in, that you get the most out of relationships when there is a clear power dynamic, where the man is over here doing his clear roles and his clear vibe, and the woman is over here with her clear roles and her clear vibe, and they don't cross over. There's no mixing. It's clear, black and white. And because what that does is it creates polarity. And when there's polarity, that's when you get sparks. When the poles, the plus and minus, when the poles start becoming a little bit more like one another, and they become each a mixture of positive and negative charge, then there's no polarity. They become too similar, too relaxed. And what that does is it simmers things down. It makes a very relaxed and comfortable environment, but that doesn't lead to any sparks. That doesn't lead to, excitement and fun. Okay. But on the other hand, it's very comfortable. And that's the thing. A lot of couples, they get very, very comfortable, and it kills things. It really does. And then the next thing you know, they're looking outside for that excitement. And if the guy is plagued with Madonna whore syndrome, or the woman, she can be plagued with gentleman gigolo complex. Okay, not many people talk about that, but women do have the same sort of thing, where she views certain men as gentlemen, like he would be a good father, a good husband, and that guy over there, he's the gigolo. He's gonna be good at just throwing me against the wall and railing the hell out of me. And that's not necessarily true either. The gentleman can be the whore, and the whore can be the gentleman. And there's no clear identities. We're just people. Now, we might lean one way or another how we present in society, but that doesn't mean that it's in there, right? I know straight up whores that have become family guys. They're still a whore in their relationship, but they're married, they've got kids, they got a home, and all that shit. And same on the other side. So it's all gray. There is no clear black and white until you make the black and white. And that's what makes things exciting. When it becomes gray, that's when she's looking outside and she's like, oh man, Tom from accounting, he's got that certain edge about him that's really sexy. And next thing you know, they're fucking in the break room. So it's let's avoid that stuff. Let's avoid these sort of things. Let's prevent this from happening. So because it's we as humans, we don't discard things that we find valuable. We don't discard things that we truly hold as I want to protect this. This is mine. I don't want to share it with anybody else. But it's when that perception starts shifting and you're this is just kind of regular, whatever. That's when people start making these other choices that tend to be really destructive. Okay. Now, if you know yourself to be somebody who likes a lot of variety in your life, then of course make that known up front. There was this one guy, he was in there and he was yeah, I've been with my woman for 6 years and I cheat on her all the time. I'm just really good at cheating and she never knows. And I've been cheating on her for the past 6 years. Since they've been together, he's been fucking other women. Now, so we were kind of asking him certain questions, and of course it came down to the idea that he was hiding it because he didn't want to get caught. Now, who acts like that? Kids will act like this, right? You had some special cookies in a jar and now there's 3 of them missing. It's well, where'd the cookies? Every kid's I didn't do it. I don't know. Maybe it was the dog. I don't know. I can't explain it. You know what I mean? It's that's what kids do. They avoid conflict. They avoid accountability. They avoid responsibility. They don't like that pressure. So they lie, they divert, they do all sorts of stuff to prevent that direct line coming at them. So when you're a guy and you're with a woman and you're fucking other women and you're not telling her about it, you're being like a child. You're being like a grown child. Well, a grown man who's operating like a child. And that's not what men do. That's what children do. So you're acting like a little boy in the body of a grown man. And guys will try to justify that oh, well, he was trying to do that. He's I'm trying to protect her. I care about her, and that's why I'm not telling her. It's that is some fucking mental gymnastics right there. You're straight up lying. You're a liar. Men with a capital M are not liars. Why the fuck are you lying to a woman? What are you scared of? oh my gosh, she's going to get upset because you like pussy. So if you were that upfront from the beginning, she would know what kind of guy you are. And who knows, maybe with certain kind of leadership and encouragement and nurturing, you could have the thing that you want, which is a main woman and the occasional side pussy. And she would be okay with this, or she wouldn't, and you'd find somebody who is. But you'd be able to be in your relationship and live in complete 100% honesty with who you are. So when I get together with a woman, she needs to understand this. And I say this early on. Say, listen, I'm not the person who's always out hunting, but occasionally I do get that impulse where I want to be with another woman. When that comes up, when that desire comes up, I don't know when it will be, but when that desire comes up, I'm going to bring this to your attention. I'm going to talk to you about it. And I offer the same openness with her. So if she feels that impulse, she has the open stage to talk to me. All right? Because we're all about free will. We're not trying to control people out here. So I'm not trying to control myself. I'm not trying to control her, and nor is she trying to control me. So we want complete freedom. Because it's like, if you want to be together, you're going to be together. If you just want to experience a little something over there, it doesn't mean you don't want to be together. So it just has a lot to do with how you're conducting your relationship. All right? So you gotta understand that shit. But just be honest up front, okay? Like, if you've got also, like with kink, if you've got a certain kink, don't fucking hold that back, okay? Like when I wouldn't say like the first time that you're meeting, unless it's known that you both are into, irregular stuff, then you can bring it up. But if not, like, wait to bring that up, but make sure it's early on so that she's aware that you're into this sort of thing. All right. So that she could have the free will and opportunity to say, you know what? I don't like that. I'm not into that sort of thing. So I'm going to go. Okay. Or she'd be like, wow, that's really cool. I'm into the same sort of thing. Or that's really cool. I've never experienced that. I'd love to try it. Okay. But if you're not honest and upfront, then which has a lot to do with shame. Like, you're like, oh, I don't want her to judge me, blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to set the precedent, because if you set that precedent, then she will learn to become more comfortable as well. And she's like, well, I have a foot fetish. I love sucking on toes. And you're like, okay, cool. That's awesome. All right. How bad and now it's like, now you know her desire. What can you do with desire? Now you can do tease and denial. You can do reward stuff. You can do all kinds of stuff once you understand a woman's desires. All right. So, but that's like for a whole other thing. So I see Unique in here. What's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. You said, Mr. Justin, so many couples are afraid to express their true fantasies that they would like to carry out because they think the other person will judge, hence why many relationships are boring. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the aspects of relationships being boring. And I've mentioned this before. It's a really simple thing. People are afraid that the other person is going to see them the way they see themselves. Right? So it always comes back to the self. If you've got judgment and shame about who you are, you're going to be afraid that other people are going to see the shit that you're judging and that you're ashamed of. So get close with that shadow. Get close with your ego. Get close with those darker sides of yourself that you are condemning, okay? And embrace it and understand this is just part of who you are. And if there's going to be people who are going to accept it, and there's going to be people who reject it. And that's life. You're not going to be liked by everybody. All right? You might not be liked by anyone, okay? But at least you're living, with acceptance of yourself. K-Sung, question, do you believe everyone has a fetish? I remember a psychology teacher saying this. No. So there's a difference between fetish and kink. All right, kink is just something that you enjoy that is not of the socially acceptable norms of sexuality, okay? Fetish is something that is also not of the norm, but you need it. It is like a biological need in order to get off. Like, so you could have a fetish for socks. Someone could have like a sock fetish. They literally cannot have an orgasm unless there are socks involved in their play. Whether they're like wearing socks, or there's a sock in their mouth, or the other person's wearing socks, or they're wearing socks on their hands, however it shows up. But it, like, fetishes are absolutely necessary in order to get off. And that's what makes them so unique. It's a very weird thing. I knew this girl, and she had a fart fetish. And she wasn't a girl with me. Like, I was just like acquaintances with her, friendly acquaintances with her. And she had a fart fetish. She was obsessed with it. She was a lesbian, so she loved the farts of women. And it was a fetish of hers, so she literally needed farts to get off. So what she did, she was clever, she was smart. She only dated women who were vegetarians. Because, you know, vegetarians are farting all the time because of all the fiber that they're consuming. So yeah, she only dated vegetarian lesbians who ate beans. So yeah. Oh, sorry, Guns. You said you had a questions up above. Let me see what you said here, buddy. Okay, yeah. Question: can you comment on how most guys' fantasy is to meet a Madonna, and they want to be the one? They want to be the one to turn them out into their own personal 304. I don't know if that's a fantasy. I don't know if that's exactly a fantasy that guys have, but I do think that's a common desire, and maybe an illusion. I don't think it's a fantasy, but I think it's this dreamy illusion that they want to do this. And the reason being is this competition anxiety that guys have. So guys are afraid of a woman being with other men because they're actually afraid that other guy or those other guys were better than him and that he can't measure up. Okay? And they think that this is an issue with her. And they'll say, well, if she didn't have so much dick, then I would look like a hero. Little loser me, who's only been with a couple of girls, if she didn't have so much damn experience, if her sexual palate wasn't so advanced, I would be a hero. So fuck her. And fuck all those guys who fucked her. That's really what's happening. That's really what's happening there. Okay? But all you gotta do is just get yourself some more experience. Get yourself some more experience and then hone your sexual abilities without attaching so much self-worth to that, okay? And then you can be that hero, whatever fucking hero you want to be, okay? Because really, when you're able to tap into emotions, like I was talking about before, when you can tap into a woman's emotions, it doesn't matter what physical things she's done. It doesn't matter how many dicks she's had. Emotions are more powerful than orgasms. They're more powerful than dick because it penetrates her being. And when a woman's emotions are shifted, now, like, I don't know, if you're a sadistic fuck, you can experiment with this sort of thing. If you're into mind play and mind fucking people, then you already know. You already know how powerful shifting people's emotions can change their perception. You can change their whole perception of self just with a few words. You can bring them way the fuck down, or you can bring them way up. You can change the way they think. You can change their beliefs. You can change their values. You can change their morals. And it all depends on how you're engaging their emotions. This is way more powerful than some bunch of dicks that she's had in the past. But this all comes from surface level thinking. So when you're on the surface, you're like, oh, well, that guy's got bigger muscles than me. Well, that guy's got more money than me. Well, that guy has a nicer house than me. Well, that guy has a better car than me. That guy's dick is bigger than mine. That guy can fuck better than me. When you're up here, that stuff matters. When you go below that into the worlds of emotions, all of that stuff can be surpassed. It will pierce right through all of that shit. Right through it. Because if all that stuff mattered, then no good-looking, wealthy celebrity would ever get divorced. Ever. Because if that shit mattered so much, okay, then why would a woman leave them? But celebrities, sports heroes, famous people, moguls, they get left all the time. And we're talking fucking millionaires, billionaires, private jet owning, island owning, fucking multi-company owning, like powerful guys, like powerful, like they can like pick up a phone call, like make shit happen on large scales. Okay. And women are like, I don't want to fuck with you anymore. I don't care. Because once their emotions are disengaged, then they're off. Then they're gone. So it's really a matter of understanding how to engage a woman's emotions, which will then alter perceptions, beliefs, behaviors, habits, all that shit. This is partly the reason, why when, say, like a woman gets with a certain type of guy and she stops seeing him for whatever reason, she can't stop thinking about him. And her friends are like, girl, what the fuck is wrong with you? He was like this, he was like this, he was like this, he did all these things. And she's like obsessed. It's because a certain aspect of her emotions was engaged and it goes deep and she can't relieve herself from it. And she needs, like, literally either needs a shitload of time or another guy to start influencing her emotions in a deeper or different way that can kind of push that influence out. So, you know, don't get all hung up on, you know, wanting to be this fucking hero, because that shit doesn't work. So there's new website. All right, Unique, thank you for posting that. But the new website is up. Maybe I can grab. No, these are but it's the dominanceacademy.com. I'll put that in the chat. But yeah, I started a new thing. So yes, there it is. This is the new website. And so it's got access to my calls, it's got access to my program, it's in tiers. So I set it up kind of like a school, because it is the Dominance Academy. So you got freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and they all have access to the videos. They're pre-recorded videos, but as you get higher up in the grades, you have access to other things. So you get calls. The junior and senior level, you get 2 calls a month. The junior, I believe it's 1 call a month. And then the senior level, you get access to all these different like workbooks and documents about setting up like a DS situation, setting up like how to have protocols, how to have clear dynamics in your relationship, and all the little details that you might need to have that. And then there's the masterclass, which is like the full-on 12-month hardcore training program, where it's like weekly calls with me, lots of homework, reading materials, because I think like through these videos and all this other stuff that you've been consuming with me, my associates, is that there's a lot of mindset shit, a lot of conditioning that happened a long time ago that you're still living in, that is preventing you from living the way you want to live, having the relationships that you want to have. And a lot of it has to do with your belief structure and how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, things you've gone through, how you were raised, like all this stuff comes into play. And it expresses itself, namely in the relationship that you have. And how that goes is a direct reflection of those beliefs and perceptions. So if shit's fucked up, then those beliefs and perceptions are fucked up. Okay? So that's what the masterclass is about. The masterclass is about looking at all those details, deconstructing them, and then constructing them in the way that you want it to happen. Okay, so it's not prescriptive. It's not me saying, okay, this is how you got to do it. It's me offering you the tools to figure it out on your own. And I'm there as a guide to kind of prevent you from veering too far off course. And we work together so that you can create your own constitution of the state of you so that you're very solid. You'll actually have a program that you can fucking print out and tape up on your wall and say, this is my fucking program. Instead of being one of those idiots who are like, yeah, I got a program. And then I'm like, okay, tell me about it. And they're like, I don't know, she sucks my dick every day. No, that's not a fucking program. Having her clean your apartment, that's not a fucking program. Okay? Program is detailed. Just like if I were to show you my workout program, it'd be fucking detailed. Day to day, week to week. Okay? That's a program. That's what helps develop these things. Okay? That's what the masterclass is about. So that's one half of it. If you scroll down, there's another area for calls. And the calls, you can do single calls, just a la carte, or you can buy packs. You can buy a 4-pack of calls, you can buy an 8-pack of calls. And of course, the more calls you get in these packs, it reduces the cost of each call. So it's in your best interest to, get the packs, and then you save some money. So it was good seeing you guys in here, but just understand that the Thinkific link there, that is old. I'm actually going to be taking that down because it's defunct, and so don't go to that one. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions before I sign off here, please shoot them up in the chat. Kaysan, yes, I appreciate you coming through. And it's like it's a process, guys. It really is. Like no one pops out of the womb with game. It's like no one pops out of the womb knowing exactly what they want. Okay, but it certainly helps, and it has helped me because I've had numerous coaches as I've come through life in various aspects of my life. Because is as wise as I am, I can't see everything. I have blind spots. And I need someone there to look at me and go, smack me in the back of the head and go, dude, you didn't see this. That's why X, Y, and Z happens. And that's just life. Okay? And I'm probably going to have teachers and mentors and coaches for the rest of my life, because there's always going to be somebody who's in front of me. And there's always going to be somebody who's in front of them. And there's always going to be somebody who's in front of you. And they've seen the ruts in the road. They've seen the potholes. They've seen the tree that fell across the path before you even get there. And they can say, hey, jump over this shit, duck under that thing, weave around that, okay? Grab that thing over there, grab that thing over there. And you'll be like, well, why? And they're like, well, because of this, because I fucked up, because this is what I learned. And I'm trying to help you not have the same kind of mistakes. Okay? And that's what you invest in. I had to invest in my coaches because they've been through all kinds of shit in life, right? They went door to door knocking on learning sales, so that I'm not going to waste my time doing that. So I pay them to teach me about sales, about how I can change things and how I can increase sales through the methods they learned by scuffing their knees. Because I'm not going to fucking do that shit. Like, that to me sounds like a huge waste of time, going door to door, so to speak, or online going door to door. Like, that's a huge waste of time, but they learned a lot. And so I pay them to teach me the shit that they learned. And now things are a lot easier for me. Okay? So, make 2024 the year of investing in yourself. You're this much closer to death. You're this much closer to not having the energy, not having the time. Okay? It's always waiting for you. Like that Emily Dickinson poem that said, I kindly didn't wait for death, but death kindly waited for me. It's always just patiently waiting. Because it doesn't care. It's got all the time in the world. All the time in the world. Okay, but you don't. So it's like, do you want to get on what you want now, or are you going to put it off? And if you can put it off, that means you can keep putting it off. And you will. Okay, until you say, like I said a couple weeks ago, you know what? I'm done putting off going to the gym. And then when I got in there, I was like, yes, this is fucking fun. I forgot how much fun it was to grow and to learn. And once you start taking these action steps, yes, it's messy. It aches, okay? Like, it hurts, okay? My body was in a lot of fucking pain. And when you start getting into changing the way you think and the way you move and the way you believe, it hurts. Because the things that you thought was right is not right. And it's had you in a world of shit for a long time. And you've tricked yourself into believing it's the right thing to do. Nah, I got this. It'll be fine. No, it's somebody else's fucking problem. No, it's your fucking problem. All the problems in your life is your problem. You put it here or you allowed it to be here. So, no excuses. You're the one who's created the shit sandwich that you are eating. And if it's like 100% shit sandwich, that's on you. If it's like partially a shit sandwich, that's on you. How did you make it how did you make it like partially edible and partially a shit sandwich? Okay? What did you do? These are the things you got to think about. And invest the time, sometimes the money, the energy into changing the things you don't fucking like. If you're in a relationship that isn't suiting the way you want it to go, you have to fucking address it. I mean, like, I don't like doing this fucking shit. I don't want to do this anymore. I want this. But you got to know what it is that you actually want. And, you know, when I tell this to every guy that I work with that's in a relationship, I tell them, buddy, the first thing you have to learn, the first thing you have to accept is that when you start changing and you start going for the things that you want, you might lose the girl. You have to accept the fact that your marriage might crash and burn. You have to accept the fact that the woman that you're with in your relationship, even if you're not married, she might get fucking so not into, she might get so turned off by what you're doing because now you're unpredictable. You're not the same old predictable fella that's been doing the same thing forever, and she might not like it and she might bounce. And you have to accept that. And that's just the way it goes. This is the thing that I tell all of my guys right at the onset. Accept loss. This is part of being a man. As part of being a man is learning that you are losing shit. You are going to lose shit. But that is, accepting that is what allows you to hold things, because it's in the grasping of things that causes suffering. It's when you hold on to things too tightly, that's when you lose. Like I've mentioned ironies in the game. When you are grasping, you lose. When you just hold, you gain. And it's like the women they're like dumbfounded by this shit, because every other like average regular guy that she's been with has tried to grasp at her and control her. But when you're like just palms out holding her, okay, or just creating like an environment for her to be held in, you're not doing this, and she is more willing to be controlled. Like, she wants you to put restrictions on her. It's like, why isn't this guy putting restrictions on me? Please give me restrictions. And you're like, okay, fine. And then if you already have a system for control, then you can start slowly implementing these structures, and then she adapts to them easily. versus if you're grasping and clutching and trying to control, then she's like, nope, and she squeezes out of your hands like water. But if you have it as an invitation, while also having the system ready to go and implement it a little bit at a time, then she adapts to it a little bit at a time. Just like going to the gym, progressive resistance. 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 5 pounds, 5 pounds each week. Next thing you know, you can fucking lift a cow over your head. Well, maybe not that strong, but you know what I'm saying. All right, I'm starting to ramble. So we've gotten way off fucking topic with this Madonna horse shit, but it's not really. Okay, it's all tied together. It all works together. All of this shit. So it's like you got to get out of linear thinking, because it's not like an A, B, C, D. Like if I do this, then this will happen. It's not like that. It's more like a spider web that isn't flat like most spider webs. It's like a spider web that's a sphere. And you just got to start in one area because it's all connected to all other areas. That's how this works. All right. I'm going to get going because my blood sugar has crashed. I'm starting to get see the shakes. So it's time for me to eat. My post glycogen replenishment wasn't enough. It was right after. So here's a little tip, just real quick. Get yourself some Haribo gummy bears, okay? Specifically Haribo, because they use pure glucose in their, they don't use, what's that fucking shit called? What are that other fucking, syrup replacement? I can't remember what it's called, but they don't use that, okay? They use pure glucose when they make their gummy bears, the Haribo in the gold bag. If you're lifting or you're exercising, right after that shit, eat yourself either half a bag or a full bag of these gummy bears, and it quickly replenishes the glycogen that your muscles have used, okay? Because basically your muscles run off of sugar, like pure sugar, pure glycogen. So when you're out of the gym, you can immediately consume pure glucose, and it fuels the muscles up again. Okay, then go get yourself some food. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. All right, peace out, fellas. It's been great having you. And thank you for watching. If you're catching this on the replay, I'm out.